the media hasn't seemed to push on. There's this been narrative since yesterday that one of the things they're talking about doing is passing them on to, social groups to do it. One of the things they may do is move the ownership of some of Kainga Ora houses to some of these social groups. And Kieran McElnotty, who was with us last night, kind of said that you end up paying for the property multiple times. So we, the taxpayer, pay for the house to be built, and then we pay for someone. Well, we subsidize someone living in it. And then we give the house to give or sell the house to a social entity, and then we continue to pay the rent for it as we were, but we as a country has lost that asset.
We lost control.
And we don't have that asset on our ledger anymore. And the biggest thing I found, we put a tweet out today from last night's conversation, and honestly, it's gone bananas, including people saying, "Oh, the only investigative journalists in the country." And I think it was as simple as Kieran saying, or us figuring out as we were talking about, yes, under Labour, they put on $10 billion more of debt for that, but they got $25 billion worth of property. So, and when this is what this government will do, they'll just say the number, that's the number, 10 billion bad, 10 billion bad. Number. Yeah, they'll leave out the part, by the way, $25 billion worth of asset on that ledger. So actually, $15 billion better off, in theory, if you're doing a profit and loss statement or an assets ledger sort of thing. So that hasn't been said enough, and we're going to keep repeating that because people seem to have only heard that the first time last night.
Pat, I think you're onto it because I didn't see the interview with Kieran, but here's the thing with this particular number throwing that they put out there, and it might have been you, Chewy. They put the big number out there, scare the people. Don't just scare the people once, scare them all of the time. And that fits with that narrative around, oh, well, we're just better at managing the economy than the left side of politics because that's how we view things in this country. But when you really pare it all back, and you have a look at the asset base that's been created by the state housing system in Aotearoa, we're talking about a massive investment of billions over the years that's created even more billions over the years. It's a massive asset, but we don't see it as an asset. We see it as a cost. And then we go the race to the bottom of saying, and then there's all those naughty tenants out there that have parties and then we're seeing an increase in the number of people who don't want Kainga Ora homes or state houses built in their communities because it affects the house price. And that's my big point. House prices haven't really gone down. They've gone up. Therefore, the asset value has continued to skyrocket in recent years, but not in our backyard. The moment we pass those assets over to a social enterprise or a community housing initiative or whatever, or even business, we lose control of the asset. And it's not just about continuing to pay for the asset. We're losing the value of the asset at the same time. That's depleting the books. I mean, look, I didn't pass school see anything. Even I know how to do 1 + 1 on a bloody calculator. These Muppets from the circus wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah. Chewy?
I'm also going to say, look, yes, they're going, and I think this is something that they're going to do right into the budget. They are going to talk about the big scary number at every opportunity to justify the slash and burn politics that they have in mind. And with all of these, it's just the number. No context, no deeper thought, no flow-on effect. We're looking at the value of what Kainga Ora is doing, what they've spent, their debt levels. We're not going to look at the value of the asset. We're not going to look at the benefit to the country to having people living in healthy, warm homes that don't have to go to hospital with respiratory illnesses. We won't have to look at kids that are off school because they're sick. We're not going to look at workers that aren't at work because they're sick or because their children are sick. We're not going to look at the benefits of building communities and giving people a leg up in life so they can hopefully buy their own homes, which flows into being secure in their retirement and their later life. We're not going to look at any of those. Too complicated. Doesn't get votes. We're not going to do it. And look, if the national government really wanted to take the position of we're not in the landlord business, right? Then we want to talk about social housing providers. They have done this before. When they go, the Salvation Army is going to buy all of these old state houses from us. They took the pick of the bunch, the ones that weren't going to cost them much to bring up to the healthy home standard, the ones that weren't going to cost much to renovate, the ones that were in good locations, and they left the government with the rest, the ones that were suitable for the bulldozer, and that was it. And those sections were empty for years in the middle of the housing crisis.
Here's the thing that I want. I know you watch media. I know reporters watch because I hear from them. The next person who talks to Christopher Luxon about this issue and the $10 billion, this is the question you need to ask him. So $10 billion extra, Mr. Luxon, what are you going to get for that? And see what he says. Because the answer is $25 billion worth of assets, because he's leaving that part off. That question is essential to ask him. And mainstream media, I do love you, and I'm not going to be one of these, oh, bloody, journalistic fun. And it's not that. It's just you have access, so you have a fucking responsibility to ask the right question, not to just listen to the narrative and move on to the next subject. I don't care if you've got him for 10 minutes and you've got to stay on one question the whole time. You have the access, you got to do it.